everyone who's in attendance, all the people that I see out there. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Brittany Shingles. I'm the president of Safe Title and Escrow. And this is my monthly webinar series. We're getting it started back up. We're going to do some great things next month. But today we have broker Tiffani Joseph, MBA, on with us. And she's going to talk to us about going solo and what that process is of starting your own real estate brokerage. And it's going to be more conversational. We won't be on here too long. And we'll just go over a few quick questions and really just try to pick her brain and figure out how did she become the success that she is in order so, other people may follow her steps. So Tiffani, tell us a little bit about yourself and your educational background. One of the things that struck me when you came across, when I saw your email signature, I'm like, oh, she's got a master's in business administration. That's not, nothing to shy away from. So yeah, just give us a little bit of your background. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I actually graduated from Florida State, so go Noles for anyone out there. And I have my bachelor's in marketing and finance. And then after that, graduating from Florida State, I came back to the South Florida area, not originally from here, but basically, my family migrated from New York when we were 10. So I graduated from high school in South Florida. And then I worked for a corporation, worked for a few years, and then went and got my MBA at Nova Southeastern. So I did that like weekend course through Nova. And I think I want to say I probably graduated from Nova in about 2009. And that's telling my age when I do that, but it's okay. So then I graduated from Nova and got my MBA.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I always know it's like we spend so much money on this education, and then we come back and then do jobs that we could have done with a license, you know what I mean, that we could have, and I am certainly guilty of that. I have 3 degrees and I don't use barely any of them. So it's okay. I definitely understand, but it's still, I think it helps. I think it makes you more well-rounded for the job that you are doing. You know what I mean?
And when you think about it, Brittany, it's like we were not, most of us that did go, it's like you're told you go to college. Like that's to the extent of a lot of our family background, that's what we were told. And so even when I went to college, I majored in business because I knew like, okay, I want to make money. Business seemed like it made the most sense. But now that I'm years later out, I'm like, what I learned in college is nothing to compare to what I am doing or even that backbone. College truly prepares you to work for a corporation, which is great, definitely great. I've had my experience in doing it. And I think that it's also good to have some corporate experience because it then helps you have a perspective on, am I corporate or do I want to be an entrepreneur?
Right.
Yep. So definitely.
Right. I think that's an excellent perspective. So how did you make the transition over just in real estate generally, not necessarily starting your own brokerage, but just in general, going from the corporate world and leaving the corporate world and saying, I'm going to at least dip my toe in the real estate pond?
Yeah, so actually, like some people that get into real estate, I actually started real estate while I was working. So how I got into it is, so entrepreneurship has always been my thing. And when I've owned a nail salon, my husband and I started an insurance company. And so that's really what led me into real estate, is because I remember when I purchased my first home before becoming a realtor, I did not see people like myself. And I really knew nothing about the process. And so when my husband and I got into the insurance business and we started to have our clients come to us and ask us questions about housing and stuff like that, to me, it just made a lot of sense. Like, wait a minute, we can help these people, help our community, help the clients that we have. And so that's what led me into doing real estate. It was like, hey, I can help people in the community that were similar to me when I bought my first home. And then also the clients that were coming, because in our community, the lack of knowledge and knowing where to start to even purchase a home is so high. And so for me, it was wanting to be able to be a good resource for the community.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love that you phrase it as entrepreneurship, because I think a lot of people come into real estate, and even I'm talking about being an agent, and they don't think of it as entrepreneurship. They don't think that becoming a real estate agent means starting your own business. So I think that I love that you phrased it that way, because I think that should help people, really have
Yeah,
respect.
no, that's
Yeah.
that's the whole number one thing, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you're doing, it is a business and you need to
Right.
treat it that way. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest reasons in South Florida, the number of realtors who are successful in the industry is small because
Right.
people don't come in with that mindset.
Right.
But you really have to think about it, right? If I backtrack to what we talked about college, we're not trained to think
Right.
business. We're trained to go work for someone. They give us information and we do the job. So when
Right.
a lot of people are getting their real estate license, they want to go to a broker
Right.
and say, give me the information and just, do. They don't want to look at it as this
Right.
is my business and I'm either going to make it or break it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. That's good. I think that was a good nugget. I think that
Yeah.
was a good nugget. So when did you make the transition from you're like, okay, all right, I'm a broker. I'm kind of doing this. When am I going to make my step to being my own broker, being my own boss? And were you kind of a broker associate for a while, or did you just hop right into I'm a
So
broker, my own business?
Okay, you have to have your real estate, you have to be a real estate sales associate for 5 years before can even apply to become a broker.
Mhm.
So I worked for two agencies, and it was people that I knew and they helped mentor me. And so I got a lot of information. But again, because I always knew this is a business for me.
Right.
And I knew that, hey, a business, I want to create a legacy for my family, not just my children, but I have siblings and I want to be able to create that for them. So for me, I always knew that was going to be the step. Once I got into the field, it was like at some point when it's available to me and I feel most comfortable in doing that, I'm going to transition and create my own agency.
Right.
And so 5 years in, I did that after having my license for 5 years.
Okay. Okay. And you just went and straight out and incorporated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so again, when we talk about business, in order to become a broker, you need to take an additional course after the 5 years, and then you have to pass a test. So I think the course it's like a 72-hour course, and then you got to take another state exam. And then if you pass it, you're a broker. So a broker can decide to stay with agency and just be a broker associate, like you mentioned, or you can decide to establish your own business, and you could establish an LLC, you can establish a corporation, however you choose to establish your brokerage, but that is what you're doing. And some people establish their brokerage and they don't have anyone under them. So there's a lot of people who are brokers and it's just them. So I think for everyone, it's just depending on what is your end goal with being a broker? Is it to be a big agency and recruit a bunch of agents? Is it to just kind of you on your own doing your thing? So I think those are kind of different avenues that people can go down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Distinguishing and having those clear goals. I love that you said that as well. Just having the clear goals of what you're kind of begin with the end in mind. Like, what are you
Yep.
going for?
Yeah.
So what made you decide to start your own brand versus buying into a Keller Williams? I think that's a little bit down the list.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I mean, so you went and then you started. I mean, did you even think about buying into an Exit Realty, buying into a Keller Williams, buying into a Kai's,
No, Brittany,
Century
and
Boulevard?
I think those are great. And I think for me, it goes back to what my goal was and my whole purpose for doing it. And it was to, one, create a legacy for my family. So if I buy into a Keller Williams or some other big name, that is not really creating a legacy for
Mm,
my family. It doesn't have our name on it, right?
right,
We don't have
right,
too many businesses with our name on it. And that was
right,
something that was important to me, that, I want my kids to see, like, hey, no, my dad has a company and it's Joseph Realty Group, right?
right.
My husband's insurance is Joseph Insurance Group. And so to have a sense of pride in that name, and then also within the community to have a sense of a place that our community can come and feel like a family. And
Right.
that was also the premise with our insurance agency. Like, that's what the clients feel like. And it transitions into the same thing with the real estate.
Okay.
That's some place that people can know, like, hey, I'm coming to an agency that's like a family owned business.
Right. Right. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that's great. That's great meaning behind it.
Yeah, but I do think, again, when people are for tips and just out there for agents that are tuning in or watching the replay, you just have to decide. Yes, those big names have a lot of great support. So if think of it as it's a franchise, right? So if you had said, Brittany, I want to look into a business and I want to purchase a franchise versus starting something on your own, franchises, you get a lot of support, right? Are you going to open up a McDonald's or you're going to open up
Right.
Brittany's Burger Shack, right?
Right.
So it's that same situation. It's like, do you want the resources and the support, or is it more important to you to have that risk and reward of being an entrepreneur and saying, what's more important is something I know I own that's with my name on it, that I know it succeeds, great, I can pass it on. And if it fails, then I have to be the one to kind of evaluate and move on from that. And what your next steps are.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. I think one of the things I noticed how clear you are about your vision and what goals that you were trying to accomplish in which direction. And I always think that helps.
Yeah.
To so in building your brand, what was the first direction that you went into? Do you think it was and I have down here like in person, social media, mail outs. I see there's a whole, ton of different strategies and it was interesting to hear that you had a background in marketing and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that probably gave you a real advantage for the rest of us, that are out here trying to do it a
Yeah,
different way.
but
Yeah.
you know what I will tell you, Brittany, it has changed. So
Mhm.
again, from when I got my broker license and even from when I was in school, the way marketing has evolved is completely, different.
Right.
But I would say is the way I get my brand out there depends on my demographic and who I'm targeting.
Mm.
So, for example, and the only reason why I bring up insurance is because that's kind of some of my marketing I target to our insurance clients. If I have older clients who maybe own their home and I'm trying to target them to sell, I will still mail a letter. I will write a letter and kind of mail it to them. I will pick up the phone and call them, because they're not always checking email. They're not on social media. Now in this COVID and then 2020, I'm trying to market to millennials and educate them on investment opportunities. So I am social media all the way, right? And I'm learning how to do Facebook ads and kind of that whole like Instagram and just like the whole social media piece of it. So, and that's all new because I didn't learn that in school. So it really just depends on the target.
That's very good. Because I'm like, I try a whole bunch of different strategies myself. And I think I always tell people the only thing that I've had that genuinely works is just going out there and meeting people,
Yes.
because when I first started my business, I was like, all right, I'm going to do all these Facebook ads. And I spent like $7,000 on Facebook ads. Nothing, you know what I mean? Zero, like zero, zero return. And I was like, okay, that wasn't it. But so there's a whole bunch of different strategies. And I think that's the one thing for a lot of agents that I hear is like, they're like, how do I get clients? Like, how do I do this? So I think it's like you said, it's just varying your brand is good.
Yeah, and I think for that, even like you said, you host this monthly webinar, right, on different topics. And I shared with you before we started that I also host a monthly, webinar on various topics. So I really think positioning yourself as just kind of a community expert or sharing out information is really what may not get them immediately, but the more they hear and they start to follow and they can go back on YouTube and watch your videos or something, I feel like that's really going to establish that connection, because then that person is seeing, oh, this person's knowledgeable, or this person at least brings information and is just not trying to say, you ready to buy a house? You ready to buy a house? But more of educating people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's fantastic. So how are you, and we were speaking about how crazy it is right now. So how do you balance it all? Being a woman, being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, COVID-19, everything that's going on. And it's okay if the answer is poorly, because that's my answer.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but how I mean, pre-COVID, how did you balance it all? How did you balance it all to get that get that going? Like you said, you already had the insurance agency, and I'm an entrepreneur myself where I've had kind of several things I'm juggling in the air at one time. How did you balance?
Well, if I have to be honest with the kids, they were in school. So we had from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 6 o'clock to get a whole lot
Okay,
of stuff done while
good.
they weren't around. So
Right.
that was probably the biggest benefit of
Okay.
pre-COVID is being able to do that. But even if honestly, I would say with pre-COVID, it was actually in a challenging way in being able to network with people, right? Because
Mm,
if you think about it, pre-COVID, they would have like physical networking events in the evenings. And sometimes it's hard to manage that because I have soccer, I have this with my kids. So um, going into this COVID time period, this virtual thing has kind of been a benefit because now I don't have to factor in dropping someone, finding childcare to go to some event. I can just like go in your room, watch TV, and turn on Zoom and kind of be able to network with people. So it's funny. This weekend, I attended this like conference for investors, and a lady and I connected virtually. Like there was an app that the conference had, and you could connect with people. And then her and I set up a Zoom session. And so it was really cool that the conference was in Atlanta. And it was like, look at that. I didn't have to fly to Atlanta and figure out my whole personal situation. I could enjoy a conference in the comfort of my home for a weekend and connect with people. So I feel like it's been, it's kind of funny, right? I can't say which situation is better because there's been a lot of added benefits of having COVID and being able to manage that. But it's definitely hard. I bring my kids on showings sometimes, right? I'm like, if I have to bring them on a showing and like just sit in the car while I go do this showing. So um, I guess one of the benefits, because it is my company and I am like a family owned, that it may be a little bit okay that people understand, okay, it's kids in the back, in your conference room while we're sitting down going over stuff, because that's life, right? That's just life. So not sure if I answered
No,
exactly,
I think
but
that's good. I think that's good. I think you gave a very real answer. That's why I say I've
yeah,
definitely done closings, even though it's been torture. I've done
yes,
closings with my son there, and it is not fun. But you got to do
yeah,
what you got to do.
yes,
Um,
yes,
so you already briefly kind of touched on this before, but you know, recruiting new agents.
yeah.
You spoke about like beginning with the end in mind. Is that your goal to grow to be, with a ton of agents under you, or are you thinking of staying small? And what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of kind of like doing that?
So yes, ideally, yeah. I don't want to maybe grow to, I mean, if God gives me that, then I will take it.
Right. Amen.
But my end goal is not necessarily, I'm not out here to target every new agent that gets their license to come and join. And here's like our commission structure and everything like that. For me, it's really for agents who feel like, hey, I have a connection with her, right? So when I get calls from agents, it's like, younger agents that probably look like me, females. I think for me, that's my biggest thing. Like, I want our minority community of women to feel like they have an agency that they can come to and feel at home, because I feel like when I got my license, that was lacking. I did not find an agency that I felt that I was at home in South Florida. And so it's just so funny that now that I've kind of connected and I'm a member of NARAB and stuff, that I see like, oh, there are other agencies out here with people that look like me. But just on the surface, if you're driving by in your community looking at agencies, there were not. So that's me. I want people to feel like, hey, if I want to come to Joseph Realty Group because I feel like I'm going to be at home, I'm going to get the good mentorship that I need and guidance, and not just be a number. And so that's really what I'm here. I love like educating and being a mentor with people. And so that is kind of where I would see my next steps in going, because even from educating my clients about just real estate, and not just about buying your first home, but about investing, that's kind of the same way as like educating realtors on, hey, this is a business, how to start a business, and educating them and being that resource for them on that.
Very good. Very good. So, what tips? Because we're already running low. But what tips
Mhm.
do you have for anyone that's going to start their own brokerage? People that may be looking at this and they're where you are, or I mean where you were a couple of years ago, things mistakes that you made and how you would do it. What tips would you provide? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say really, there's no rush. Like, don't rush, right?
Mhm.
Because there isn't a reason to rush. So if you have been an agent for, 5 years, there's no reason to say, hey, I just need to go and do this because I want to own my own, business, or I want to make more of that commission. I would say gain as much knowledge as you can, get a good mentor, get a good coach, even if it's someone who's outside of your agency. And even if someone is like, hey, I'm with another agency, but they want to connect with me, I am more than happy to do that, because people have done that for me and I want to pass
Right.
that on. And so I would say gain as much knowledge as you can, because unfortunately, when you are on your own, you are on your own, right? So there isn't that broker to go to. And then if you are starting on your own, is really no that many other realtors to be like in your office, like, hey, I have this issue with this deal. How's this going on? So try to establish a good network of people who are there for you and who can coach and mentor you, so that when you do decide, that you can still fall back on those people when you have different situations come up. And then I would say really think through, what is your end goal? What is your reason for wanting to start a brokerage, right? If honestly it's just for the commission, then you could probably stay in a team and work something out with an agency to do that. So you just have to think through what that end goal is, because it is a business, and so you really kind of have to think through, am I ready to venture out and start my own brokerage? And because there are additional costs as a broker, you have to have E&O insurance. Now when you're an agent in another brokerage, they cover that E&O insurance for you, but as a brokerage, you have to cover that E&O insurance for your agents that are in your office. So there are additional costs. So don't just go and do it because you're trying to save on the commission, because there are some additional costs associated with it.
Very good. Yeah, I didn't even go into fee structures or anything like that. So what other encouragement? This is my last question, and then we'll see if anybody else that's in the session has any questions. But what encouragement would you provide for agents that are just having a difficult time kind of getting things off the ground? And I'm not even talking about brokers, just
Yeah.
agents in general, because like you said, I think they said in Miami-Dade and Broward, there's something like 60,000 agents. You know what I mean? Something like that, and the average agent is selling like 4 homes a year or something like that, but it's even worse than that. It's got to be because of the fact that you got top producers kind of like yourself that are closing things all the time. So
Yeah.
what encouragement would you give? What words of encouragement would you offer?
So I want to give words of encouragement that are a little actionable. And so my actionable encouragement or advice is, have a marketing plan.
Mm,
Identify what's your strategic objective that you as realtor Tasha, whatever, are trying to, who are you trying to target? Are you a buyer's agent, a listing agent? I think one thing with realtors is they try to be everything to everyone because they're just trying to get a deal. But with any type, again, even if you're a real estate agent, you're still you are your business and you are your brand. So what is your objective for your brand as yourself? And then from there, that's going to help you determine where you should be focusing. Is it 55 and older? Someone might say, hey, I want to focus in on mobile homes, or I want to focus in on the 55 and older community, or I want to focus in on first-time home buyers. But I would say set a plan, because if you set a plan, then any of your marketing activities will be supporting that. And it's not going to happen overnight, but you just have to continue to persevere and be relevant in that target market that you're trying to be geared towards.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, that is the end of my questions. Tiffany, thank you so much. It's been great speaking with you. It really, really was.
Thank you so much for
I,
having
I
me.
have like notes myself that I've been
Oh,
writing down. I'm like, oh my God, that's a good little nugget. I think that's great. So now we want to open it up for any questions for anybody that has. You can put them in the chat, or you can kind of, if you want to speak, you can do that as well. We'll just hold it for just a few seconds because we agreed
okay.
at 6:30. So see if anybody has anything. Nothing. Going once, going twice. Okay, well that's it. I sent you a referral for the insurance. Hopefully
Oh,
Carrie, Carrie is supposed to get back to me on that.
oh,
So
awesome.
hopefully,
Thank you so much.
yeah, hopefully, we can work that together, and then we'll get prep for our closing tomorrow.
Yes,
And
yes.
thank you again. Oh wait, I missed the beginning. Is there a
There we
reply?
go.
Oh yes, Wana or Juna. How can we contact her? Oh, yes, maybe put your contact info. She'll put her contact info. You can follow her on Instagram. It's
Yeah. So basically, if you're wanting to contact me, you can follow me on Facebook at Joseph Realty Group. On Instagram, it's realtor_JRG. And then my email address, I can drop it in the chat, but for the replay, it is Tiffani at josephrealtygroupfl.com.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, guys, definitely reach out to her. And I will send out the replay. It will be on my YouTube channel, and she'll have a copy of it as well. So it'll probably be on her platforms, or some link to it, and some version of it will be on the platforms as well. Thank you guys so much. If you guys don't have any other questions, as you can see, I have a little nugget that is.
But you know what, Brittany, I love it because that's life, right? I tried to get my kids out of the house for that, but this is life and this is awesome. It shows how through anything you can pursue, become an entrepreneur, and try to do your thing. So it's wonderful that he's in the back.
Oh, for you, because it's not your back that he has. It's me. He's trying to strangle.
Yes.
I'm going to edit this out.
This is 30 minutes. Thank you again. And thank you so everyone who joined in for the airing of it and then the replay.
Okay, awesome. Have a good night. Okay, I'll see you.
Okay.
Are you coming tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. I'll try to stop by as well.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.